that.
Ready to go, guys?
I'll find the page in the detail.
There's
You
just,
have the detail book, huh?
no, we weren't. We have the printed pages,
Oh,
but
that's fine.
we're
Okay.
doing this thing.
Northampton County Council Budget Meeting, Community and Economic Development. Courtesy of the floor. Since there isn't any, we'll move right to Community and Economic Development Summary on page 80. In our white book and 67 in the blue.
Can I ask a question?
You most certainly can.
So, affordable housing admin fee went down, it looks like $18,000 budget change? To what do you attribute that to? Because I know
Which one are we at?
it's in the book on page 67.
Oh, this one here.
Where are you at?
She's under administration.
Yeah.
We're doing the summary right now.
Oh, I apologize.
We're on 80.
I got it in the other book. I see it. Okay. But affordable housing still went down $119,163. So I know that affordable housing is a need, so the idea of not putting more money into it.
That's a revenue. That's a revenue.
That's revenue.
That's admin. So those are
Right.
the fees that we get. So
Okay.
we're not taking money. That's not programmatic money. We're not taking money away from the program. That's revenue that would normally come in. So whatever the grant funding source is, if we're able to take an admin fee, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, depending on with the program, the fee, the need. So if we didn't take an admin fee or we took less admin fees, that's where that would be reflected. And it could be just a transfer, switch over in a grant or whatever. So that's the revenue we bring in to offset the cost of the people that work in the department.
Okay, so that
But that-
attributes over here too then, on the
But-
other book.
But
Go ahead.
you're saying that's a revenue, but it's under expenditures.
It says expenditures by cost center,
Yeah.
affordable housing.
So it's actually, if you're looking at affordable housing admin fee, it's a 42140. That's a revenue. Yeah, it's under revenue at the top. So you see revenue at the top.
No,
Under the summary,
On
Steve,
page 80.
on page 80.
On
Oh,
page
okay, hold
80,
on.
it says expenditures by cost center.
10.1,
I'm looking at page 80.
80
Under expenditures.
in the white book.
Yeah, so the difference is about 10%.
Affordable housing. Did we lose COVID money? Is that what it is?
Oh, you mean the 119,000?
Yes.
percent?
Yeah,
It could be a combination of the COVID money. Affordable housing, some of the programs that we have, we're hoping to be able to transfer money into affordable housing when the ERAP is up. Some of that ERAP money can be used as affordable housing. There is a 75% threshold, meaning we have to spend 75% of our money before we can actually get into the affordable housing business, so to speak. So with that, that's probably just we're anticipating a little bit less money to be in for the expenditures for the year because we don't have the ERAP program going on. We don't have the CMED program or any of the other things like that. So it's actually a small decrease considering how much money we've actually poured in through the federal CMED program and all that ARP money that did come in for emergency rental assistance. Because remember, that's a totally separate block of money.
but
So
so how much more funding is available in ERAP and?
Right now, the number I saw was, so we have another monthly report due. I believe there's 1.9 or so million dollars left. And so we're under that 75% threshold now, but the October report hasn't been submitted yet. So we would be under that after the October report is submitted, and then however the program, whatever the programming allows us to do, we'll bring that back to council in the first quarter of next year to say, hey, this is what we're doing, and this is where the money goes and what the program
So is
looks
that
like.
money being allocated yet, or can people still apply for it? I thought it was over.
Well, right
It's
now, it's
over.
completely over.
Right, so the
But
money's been
there's
allocated.
going to be, since we do have some money left over,
Oh.
we'll be able to move into what they call the second phase of that.
Oh,
The other thing is there's always emergencies in children and youth, other human services departments. And there has been some of that money that has at times gone to subsidize like the hotel stays and stuff like that, especially if we were going back and forth between the two programs. So the person clearly would qualify for CMed or ERAP money, but then they might have some stuff in human services going on. So we're working closely in that with these funds, with human services too. So
okay.
I hope that's answers your question.
Fair enough. I guess I was just wondering because, you know, affordable housing's a hot button topic. People ask about it a lot. And, you know, even people ask about how to access rent assistance and things like that still.
Yeah, so you'll look, there's a 46% overall expenditure cut in this department.
At the
So
bottom.
just remember, this is sort of the aggregator for the ERAP program and all of those funds that came in under COVID relief. We'll just call it the big COVID relief umbrella. And primarily because we had a lot of those affordable housing programs already, that's where that money is or was.
So we got a ton of money that just kind of came at us at one time, and then it's going to dip off. What's going to happen to all those people who, not through their own fault, but still need to access some of those funds? Like I talked to somebody in housing recently, and they were talking about how many more people they anticipate to be homeless because of, you know, sort of like a cutoff valve of this funding.
So not to take a little bit, so this is sort of where human services, fiscal, and DCED sort of all roll together, I think. So part
Yeah,
of
the
what we were
confluence.
trying to get our tenant navigators to do, because the way the process worked is everybody went to a tenant navigator, filled out the paperwork, we reviewed the paperwork, processed the payment after we made sure they met all the federal qualifications, because the state, along with the county, were responsible, depending on which bucket of money the money came from, was responsible for reporting it and making sure people met the guidelines, right? Those tenant navigators are still working. We still have services and resources through them. So while the pot of money might not be that big, there are still resources out there for people to go to get help and assistance. Whether that is in the terms of financial assistance, if the person qualifies, there's not much of that out there. But job coaching, job training, if they need resources because they're homeless, maybe a shelter until they can get affordable housing or get into some sort of more permanent arrangement. So there is still a safety net under those people. And we actually, the administration has really pushed our tenant navigators to say, look, instead of giving this money out now, we need you to be the human services safety net underneath them to make sure that nobody falls through the cracks.
Well, I see how they need to work together. I'm just wondering how it's going to pan out in 2024 and what that safety net is going to have to look like, or where those funds are going to come from when the bottom falls out. You know, I mean, that's something that we're going to have to navigate in the future, I believe.
We're navigating it now.
And
Yeah.
people aren't, we are, and people are not left destitute. So if there is an MDJ hearing or something like that, we get them to North Penn Legal Services. They have all the means and representation that they need. So people haven't been laid bare by this lack of money, because there are still supports and services that existed pre-pandemic that will exist post-pandemic.
Any other questions? All right. Let's move on to Community Economic Development Administration, 81 and 67. Any questions?
I have a question.
Go right at it.
In terms of your personnel staffing, is most of the money straight from your direct budget? Or do you use some of these administrative fees? Like, are there people whose positions are paid a percentage of from this and that? I guess I wanted a clarification
We have
on that.
7 full-time staff members, and approximately 28% of our administration dollars support our staff salaries,
So the rest is,
general fund.
Anybody else? Yes, Mr. Kusak.
General question, we heard from Sue Wondolowski last week, and apparently she wants more space. You were moved over there. Has that been something that you've thought about moving into the future, whether or not? I know it's a nice building over there, but have you or the administration thought about relocating back here? If so, what's under consideration?
I'm not necessarily included in said conversation, so I can't answer that. I will say that, I was not employed while DCD offices were here. I heard it was rather challenging, and I have no idea where they may find space for us over here or elsewhere at this point. We're content where we are, but, yet to be determined, but we're not part of those conversations.
Mr. Amelia will address this more clearly in his budget stuff. Space is a concern. The Human Service Building, we have outgrown that building. We are constantly looking for more space for caseworkers and people over there. So yes, office space and where we put people is a concern, especially as demand for mail-in ballots and other things keep rising.
Okay, we'll look forward to that.
Anybody else have questions? Ron, we're on 81 and 67 in the blue. If we have no other questions, we're going to move on to COVID response grants, 82 and 69. Take your time, take a look. If anybody has questions, just Mr. Kusak.
Sure, right at the top, for revenues, American Rescue Plan, it's about 2.3 million there. Didn't we receive all of that money, or are we expecting it next year?
No, we've gotten it all.
Okay.
There's no other funding coming
So then my
forward.
question is, why are we expecting that as revenue for next year if we've already received it? Why wouldn't that be
There
part
is a
budgetary
portion of
fund
the
balance?
grant money we are going to recognize in 2024. We've received it all. Some of it needs to be recognized in 2024. So that's the difference
Well, if we
there.
received it, is there a reason why we didn't recognize it?
The modified accrual method of accounting.
Okay. And then secondly, the fund balance, 17 million. How much of that is leftover COVID relief?
There isn't any quote-unquote leftovers. We've got agreements based on all the resolutions that have come forth through council already. So it's not been drawn down yet, but all of that money is already committed with the different
So it's
projects.
committed, we
we've-
just haven't spent
Correct.
it yet.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yes, go ahead, John.
no, when John's done,
Yeah,
I'm happy to wait.
the other one I had is, if we move down into expenditures, lead-based paint. I wasn't aware that was related to a COVID response grant, and we have it elsewhere in the budget. I think I circled it someplace else. Maybe it's.
We've got a couple different lead-based paint projects to do lead abatement work, and it was an eligible expense for this ARP money. So we're continuing to train our contractors to do the lead abatement work so that we can provide safe homes. And we're also engaging in some lead paint removal through water lines, and we've got some specific projects in the works now.
That was COVID relief? Mm-hmm. Okay.
So this COVID relief is not the same as the COVID money the county got. These are specific grants that were targeted and designated to these projects, correct?
No.
Because isn't some of the
No,
money
this is
along
all,
with?
no, this is all of, some of the money is in human services, yes. Those monies were allocated for a different specific purpose, not reportable for the county. This is all of the county money. The projects down below represent resolutions that county council passed. And this is where the ARP money exists. So it's not a separate line item, it's not anything different, there's not another pot of money. This is it.
So I'm going to sound confused, but I just want clarification. So some of the money, I noticed that you and Human Services sort of share some of these projects when you present, like the ERAP and some of that stuff.
Yes.
So the money's housed with you, but
So-
they work with you?
so no,
They get a
ERAP
portion and you share your
ERAP, there are 4 buckets. So I'll give you an ERAP for an example. ERAP, there is ERAP 1 and 2, federal, which came directly to us, and state money, which went to human services. They all sit together. And what we did was we spent from bucket ERAP 1 federal one time, and then the next round of people we spent from ERAP 1 state. We have all those funds coordinated, and then we would report them accordingly. So those are the 4 buckets. Now, that ERAP money is completely different from ARP money. So now you're looking at COVID relief money sent directly to the county. ERAP was a completely specific
No, I
program.
understand. I understand that there was COVID money, but there were also there was certain drug and alcohol money that was given at that time. There were other kinds of money that was given
So-
during COVID ARPA for those specific.
Drug and alcohol sits specifically with drug and alcohol. It was passed through the drug and alcohol block grant that they receive. That will be better questions for human services.
No, I understand that.
And
My
some of the
question
drug and
for
alcohol
here is
money-
What's sort of shared, and or you have
Nothing.
just delineated the money accordingly to what you manage versus what they manage?
Yeah, this is actually all the $63 million that you saw come through in the resolutions council passed.
So then ERAP 1 is done?
ERAP
according
1
to
is
this?
completely done.
Yeah.
Yes. Just
And
filed
what
the
are future grants?
future grants, so everything rolls up into the program. So where it says future grants laid out, what that is that, so for example, right now, if you look at expenditures for lead-based paint, there's $1 million that's rolled up for 2024. And that $1 million was budgeted for 2023. Nothing of that has been spent yet. But all that money rolls up from future grants. So if you look at the projected 1.2 for the mobile health vehicle, that money is expected to be spent within this year. It's not budgeted for 2024.
I was going to ask you about that.
And so you see, so now you can kind of follow along with the logic there. Everything sits
Then
in
there's a
future
grants
grants.
total that's greater than the last number, so why is that? If the grants total is $5,878,000 and change, and your future grants is $3,002,000, so what you're
Some of the
saying-
money might have been spent in 2022. The other situation is there is $1 million resolution-wise that has not been allocated from this money. Also, I had explained to county council that some of it we're taking as revenue replacement. And what will happen is that money will roll up from the general fund balance, but the money in the budget is committed to these specific projects. We have to take it as revenue loss because if one of these projects that is part of or being spent with COVID money, we have made the commitment, we've signed the contracts. We don't want to be in a situation where something gets delayed because of COVID and then we have to pay the money back to the federal government. Sort of our little safeguard. And I think the federal government realized that that could be a possibility, and that's why they were so gracious with revenue replacement.
Yes, John.
I just wanted to follow up then again on my lead-based paint question. We also have a lead-based paint line item in community development grants. We haven't gotten there. That's a budget item for next year of $425,000. Now, in that item for 2023, the projection is 0. And if we look at the one in COVID for 2023, the projection is 0. Now, I'm all for getting the lead out, but
So.
we're
So-
not spending any of this money.
so
I guess my
part
question is,
of
why are
the-
we budgeting money that's not being spent?
So part of these are grants that are awarded to us. There is a training process going on right now that I think Frank is going to talk about training these contractors with regard to lead-based paint and lead-based pipes. There was the hope that when a lot of this money came through in 2022, that we would be able to do these programs, but safety is still an issue, getting the contractors trained up to do the work. Having large gatherings has just recently come back. I wish we weren't carrying this money over and over again. The grant agreements have been extended. So we are keeping this money on the books. It's already been given to us for lead abatement. The issue is still there. And there's a demand for housing here in the Lehigh Valley. And under community and economic development, with the need for housing, we need to make sure those houses are safe. So therefore, when we find a house that has lead or there hasn't been lead abatement, we need to have that ability to pay for it and get it done. And that's what these programs are for. If we don't spend the money for this purpose, it doesn't roll back to the general fund. We have to give it back. So it's not like it's our money to spend elsewhere.
Well, I understand the CDBG part of it, we're restricted, but the COVID relief money, I think there's some flexibility. And again, I'm troubled by the fact that we're budgeting this money and it's not being spent. And, I mean, we've had gatherings, it's been a couple of years since.
Well,
I mean,
I have to say, we need to train up some of these supervisors and, our budget stands as proposed and
Okay,
I don't want
well,
kids eating
and we have the
lead
right
paint
to propose
chips.
amendments.
I got
so-
you. I don't want kids eating lead chips, though.
No, me neither. I told you, I'm forgetting the lead out.
Okay, Lori.
Sorry.
No, no, it's
Oh,
good.
no, I just waved it. I was just
Mr.
flexing the fingers.
Question,
Do you-
Ms. Barrett. Is it possible, this has been my concern all along with all this COVID stuff when it comes to cash. We have a big barrel of cash, so some of it's restricted, some of it's council read the resolution. Sorry. Council did a resolution, which we could always amend, and so on and so forth. Would you be able to put together in writing exactly how much we got, where it went, in one place, not like going through, a book, what it's restricted to, what's left, and that. In other words, I think it's time, and I agree somewhat with John, it's 2 years on now with COVID. I mean, if a politician complains, I'm going to say, well, you've been having a lot of events. I mean, nobody's saying, let's not get together again. So the thing is, I think it would be good for us to know exactly where this money is, what we've had, what we spent, where we can't spend it, because, I mean, I look at this and let's be frank. I mean, this is a good place for fungible items.
Council has restricted the money via resolution. I can't enter into a contract over $100,000
Did I
without
ask you
council
that?
approval. No, but what I'm saying is, when you say it's fungible, there's only certain ways that I can spend the money without council approval. And quite honestly, these big ticket projects are going to be over $100,000. So if I get into a contract, I have to come back to county council.
Right.
And you could check that against your resolution. And these just denote the resolutions. This budget COVID-19 response is exactly related to the resolutions that council passed. And it's laid out like every other budget where future grants are laid in there. We show the amount of money and we roll it up. I wish that some of these programs would move faster. Obviously, it's been a concern, and that's why I proposed and I spoke to council about this previously, that's why we proposed accepting it as revenue replacement in the federal reporting, but keeping with the spirit of the resolutions to make sure the people that council designated gets the money.
Okay, let me rephrase my question.
Okay.
Because you gave it a great discussions point on something that isn't exactly what I asked you. Is it still possible to put down on paper?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I can try
In
to
one
restate
place.
it another way in one place to show you all the movements of the money. That's absolutely fine.
But when I say fungible, let's, I know you're good at explaining, and I've been around a long time too.
Right.
The feds may say it can only spend it. I mean, if we can do lead-based paint based on the COVID, then there's things that can be moved around. And as far as the resolutions, let me state again, if we pull out the resolutions, if council says, wow, 2 years ago, we designated this and not a nickel's been spent, or we don't see it being spent, we can amend the resolution, correct?
I wouldn't presuppose what council would do. What I would caution about is if the resolution exists and we sign a contract with somebody, there might be contractual obligations because we are now training contractors. We are looking specifically at the issues around lead-based paint, lead-based pipes, specifically in the city of Bethlehem and the city of Easton. And, because that's where there's a lot of that older infrastructure. So those types of things, we may end up in contractual agreements at that time. So if council does consider a resolution like you're in this hypothetical, I think it would be incumbent upon the administration and DCED specifically to tell you, hey, we have this contractual relationship, this is what we're doing. And that might be something good for an economic development committee if you have such questions.
Okay, and assuming everything you said is accurate, which I will, I think, again, council, I don't know, well, next year could be a problem because we have new people. I think a lot of the council people sitting here understand what we do and what we don't do and what we're responsible for, and that if we sign county signs a contract, we're on the hook for it. I mean, look what happened with the bridges. I mean, we don't need to get deep into that story. So the thing I'm saying is, though, and I'm not, who's against taking lead paint out of buildings? With the new buildings that are coming up, I mean, that's not even going to be an issue because most of the local zoning doesn't allow that anymore. So it's, excuse me?
It's the older infrastructure.
It's the older infrastructure, yeah.
If I say, all right, never mind. I think where we have a problem with communication sometimes is the idea that we need to be told what the paint is consisted of because we don't understand.
No,
lead paint is in older structures, and it's still out there. Nobody said lead paint removal is a bad thing. What I'm saying is, we have, what is it?
$1.2 million.
All right.
Or 1 million, whatever that is. Yeah.
So do we have that all contracted out?
Right now, it's $1 million. We don't have it all contracted out yet. We are training up contractors. Mr. Cusick aptly pointed out there's $400,000 in another pot.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes.
We've got a lot more to go over.
Right. Well, sometimes if you have to dig a road up and you need to pull out bigger lead-based pipes, it could be very expensive. Again, the money this is council's wishes. We put it in the budget. We want it to be open and transparent about it. This is where it all resides.
All right,
I can give you another breakdown if you need with the ins and outs and the movements. I will do that for you.
All right. And I don't want to, this isn't a trial, I don't want to get into a debate on who can filibuster the best here.
I'm just trying to answer your question, Mr.
You did
Head.
when I said, can you put stuff on paper? And you
Yes.
said, yes, that answered the question. You just repeated it. So again, and yes, a resolution made by council, if you sign a contract, it's done. But we can amend. This is our thing. If we can't do this, then as Jim Hemstreet said, we should just go home and come in when it's time to pass the budget. We have got to get into money. I mean, the other stuff, please, the other stuff is what I'm saying is, we may or may not, we'll get down to brass tacks on this. I'm just asking on this one thing. We may or may not spend all of this money in 2024.
Correct.
All right, but chances are we probably won't. But, so if somebody were to say, future grants, the 3 million, 3.2 that you have budgeted, 2024, that's not all restricted.
Well, so the money that sits in this grant funding, it
is.
has to be spent within the program we've presented to the federal government.
Yes.
And it has to meet one of the guidelines listed. And if you need the guidelines, they're available online, or I can
Yeah.
give you a copy of them. They're some pretty broad, some pretty restrictive. broadband's included, housing's included. There's lots of things that are included, but that money needs to be spent within a specific plan and guidelines that have been laid out by administration and published to the IRS and the Department of Treasury.
Okay. So then the lead-based paint, and I know, George, you do a great job. I'm not picking on lead-based paint. It's just how we move money around and how we write up budgets. Over the years, I've always enjoyed looking for places where money's been sandbagged in a line item. And that's not a bad thing. You wouldn't be doing your job if you weren't doing that. So the thing is, $1 million for the lead-based paint. We don't have a contract for all $1 million yet.
No, as I said, there's another 400,000.
You say a lot. That's why it's hard for me to remember. I'm sorry, Steve. I know I've been
Frank will
accused
talk
of that too. We both do
Frank
that.
will talk about the lead-based paint
Fine,
program.
But I want to talk about money.
So the money, you're asking about money.
Yes.
Somebody pointed out, Mr. Kusick, there is $400,000 in another line item that comes in specifically for lead-based paint. We are training contractors. That money comes in yearly. We are training contractors because this is an issue. And since it all rolls into the COVID issues that we're having, certain housing stock is dangerous for children and people to reside in. This extra $1 million was put aside by council resolution. It is accounted for separately because it is COVID money,
Right.
okay? It's not part of the regular $400,000 allocation.
Well, you just said.
But we're training, hold on, we're training up those
that's all wrong.
contractors. We're training up those contractors so that they'll be able to use both funds of money. They'll be trained to deal with the lead paint, and that we have them on standby when we have an issue, that we could say, hey, we have this issue. We'd like to contract with you. Can you remediate this address, this facility, give us an estimate, et cetera?
Okay. And I don't want a discussion about money and revenue streams to break down as when I was ill and I couldn't make it into the meeting, the shed, the famous shed. I watched it on the internet. And I got a charge out of how often we were schooled on mice eating wires and how you shouldn't have expensive equipment outside. We waited 2 years to bring the, but you know, everybody knows that. And I don't think, you could take a poll right now because you've answered the same thing 4 times about lead is dangerous, we're training some. Do I have the floor or don't I?
Yes, you do.
When I ask the question, I'll ask the question, but
Right.
interrupting isn't going to get you anywhere. So the thing is, we may or may not spend all of that money. You did say certain areas of COVID money is available. So if, let's say council wanted to take $2,000.
Sure.
Or $3,000. We would have to come to you and say, is this part of the money that can be used for X, Y, or Z? And then you would say, yes, it can, or no, it can't, correct?
And I'll show you the guideline, yes. I'll
Well,
show you the rule.
I trust you, Steve.
Okay.
All right, so if you specifically say that is not doable, then it's not doable. All I'm talking about with the money is, this isn't about, oh, we're going to take, I want to take 500,000 out or something like that, because, yeah, I don't even know if we can use it. The COVID money has been very confusing. I think unless you're swimming in it every day, it's an extremely confusing area. So I think you have to give us a little bit of slack, and we've passed numerous resolutions. So to say council passed a resolution, yeah, we've passed resolutions saying we like people that live here. We want this to happen. So we do a lot of resolutions. I mean, so yes, I get it. You can't do anything big without our resolution. So the idea is that this specific money on COVID response grants, we've pretty much used up all the money that is relatively, I'll use a nice word, movable and can be replaced and moved to something. It's not, there isn't much wiggle room except for the things that you have it listed for there.
There's about $1 million of wiggle room.
Okay.
That was one resolution council didn't pass. But
Okay.
we presented resolutions to council that did suppose to spend all the money.
All right, fair enough. And that's what I'm trying to get. Here's the thing, Steve, bottom line, and I'm going to be going through all of this. I'm looking for maybe up to $5,000 because I'm trying to get a project done that council did pass a resolution for about 2 years ago, and nothing's happened. It hasn't moved. Nobody's touched it. Nobody's reported on it. And I'm thinking, well, since you didn't have $500 to help us with dividers when we hit COVID, I understand money's tight. Maybe if I find the money, then this project over at the Human Services Building can move forward. And that's all. I'm trying to find a few $1,000s. And if I'm being a real pain in the butt, help me find a few $1,000s. Then I won't be complaining so much.
If I understood what the project was, let me know what the project is, and it would be helpful to know what the project was.
Yeah, it's a memorial to the girl who was tortured and murdered.
Oh, okay.
That I wanted to put up, and that was like 2 years running now. No. And so, no. So I'm a little tweaked on that. Because
gotcha.
we have people coming in and we spend money and we say, this is an emergency, this has to be done. But I mean, it's just a little thing. So I'm trying to just find some money that we could possibly use. Lord knows I don't want to hold up lead paint. Trust me, I'd love to see all lead paint go away. Acrylics, watercolors, let's get rid of lead paint. And so that's what we want to do.
Okay.
But so I'm just saying.
Understood.
And we budget, and this isn't a fault on you, because every department head will put extra money in their budget. They're not a good department head if they don't. I mean, you always say, hey, look, this is what we're going to have to spend this year. I really do. And you fight, and you might come back when you meet with them, if you do what the other directors did, and say, no, you can't have that much. All right, but you can have this much. Boom. And that's fine too. Then we get it and we say, okay, can we grab something here? Can we grab something there? And if we need to do something because we've already said don't do this or don't do that, then if we know that, we can either agree or disagree. So I'm not coming at you trying to be mean or anything. I've had difficulty understanding from day one these different COVID pots. And at any different time, we've had over these last 2 years, you come forward, or Community Economic Development, saying we have to put it here or put it there. And it can get confusing, and we're talking about a lot of money, as you well know. And I've said I'll be happy when we've spent it all, or the government says we're done, we can get back to our normal operating procedures. So no, I'm not. The feds, in some ways, created this problem. I'm not saying that they didn't need to spend money. What we did at Graysdale was important, and a lot of the things we're doing is important. But I just want to be clear. I have a tough time remembering we have to pull out all the resolutions and look what we voted on, how much money, what we need to do, and if there's a time frame on it.
We have tried to encapsulate that in the budget under this line item, though, just so you're aware.
Again, I don't want to, maybe on some other areas I can ask some questions. I don't want to drag out the COVID response grants, because I get it. I'm just trying to find out if these were anything that can be yinked and yanked. But I'll stop there. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Even though it doesn't sound like it, I appreciate it.
Are you done?
Oh, I'm done.
Ms. Farr, you have next.
But not for long, I'm sure. I want to go back to the future grants. So are these grants, and maybe Mr. Brooks can help with this, because I see him sitting there with his wealth of knowledge. Who maybe he should be the one helping to speak to us too. So the numbers you have in slots are encumbered to those categories. Future grants, do we have them? It's one big pile of $3.2 million.
And so everywhere it says future grants in all of these, the money rolls up. So that's the full pot of money in that line
Let's use a
item.
different term besides rolls up.
Okay, so that money is already accounted for in your resolutions. When the money is spent, it comes out of future grants. And it goes into, we pool our expenses together. It's like that in every.
I still don't understand why. Let me explain to you why I don't understand why. You have a grant.
Okay.
You have a broadband deployment grant.
Yes.
You have a not-for-profit grant, 0. You have categories, so where are you rolling it up to and why?
Well, we roll it up to those categories. So for example,
So there's another
hold on.
grant somewhere that's
No.
Habitat for Humanity for more money that is
No, that Habitat for Humanity grant is $514,000. That money was put aside for the affordable housing project in Forks Township. Now, that's what we anticipate spending budgetarily. The money exists in future grants because that's where all the money resides, like in every other pooled expense in the budget.
Where did it come from?
It's COVID money. That's where it came from. That's how much is in the pot, and then it rolls up into those line items. So like you have pooled
But it's-
communications.
I guess you keep saying it rolls up. Did it roll over?
No, it's, so
We
you
didn't get new
see,
COVID money 2024. The last
No,
amount of COVID money we got was
2023.
2023, correct?
no, Lori, 2023, we got the money. We showed what we budgeted
Right.
for. We didn't spend all the money because it resides in future grants. These programs take longer than 1 year to spend. Therefore, we're telling you what we anticipate spending in 2024, which matches the resolution, and it rolls up from future grants. It's like every other expense page in the budget,
So it can
except
only
we
go
call it
into those
future grants.
categories that you've allocated there.
Yes.
Okay. So maybe we should take a look at all those resolutions because it, I mean, I just don't, because I don't understand why it's kind of sitting there if it's already designated to go into lead
Because we
paint, but it's
haven't,
not.
so because it sits in future grants, that's the amount of money that is there.
That's why I wanted to
It
ask him,
sits
'cause he's
there.
applied for those
No,
grants,
he has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. We have the money in our accounts, Lori. Mr. Kusick is shaking his head. It's just like in every, so when we do pooled communication and expenses, okay? You don't think of it as money laying around, but that is the pooled amount that goes into communications. Sometimes that communications money goes to postage. Sometimes it goes to pay for a cell phone in a department. It's like every other line item in the budget. We put it in as future grants because it's going to go up to future grants, and we already have contracts, like for the mobile vehicles. The mobile vehicles were 1.2 million in 2023. Those didn't come, or those will be spent by the end of 2023. There is no budgeted money for 2024, so therefore, we lose 100% of that money because that money is going to be spent in 2023 for those vehicles we have contracted for. It's really, it's
Maybe this will
like every
help.
other page.
It's like you get your paycheck. It goes into your checking account, right? So then you have
And
that
it
pull up.
just sits there.
Well, then you have the bills. So you take the money from the checking account and start paying the bills, so it rolls up to those bills.
I just wonder, because it's just this
Right.
glob of a category, and why isn't it just put in the categories where it needs to be if you have the contracts already? That's the only question that I'm asking.
It's not spent down yet.
Yes.
It's contracted, but we've not started reimbursing their expenses yet.
Yes.
Okay, now,
I just want to
I-
say about, with Lori, if I may, I think part of it is, and Steve, let's just, forgetting resolution, I think it's, when you say roll up, somebody could say roll forward, and they wouldn't be breaking any law. If we didn't spend, it's contracted for, you're right, it's been signed, and it wasn't spent, so now it has to move to 2024, because you have to account for all the money. So I think that's fairly clear. But I think sometimes terminology can be a bit tricky.
I
You're
understand.
a fiscal professional, steeped in the ways of money.
I understand.
That's why you got your nickname. So I think it's just a matter sometimes of communication. So you're right. If we contracted for the money, if we didn't spend it this time, you have to account for it
Right.
here. To say it rolled up, you could almost always easily say, we didn't spend it here, but it's contracted for, so we had to move it over to 2024.
And Ms. Hefner, I think if you put the resolutions together with what is presented in the budget, you will find out it completely ties out. There is some whole home money in here, but you will find out that it completely ties out to that $1 million that's left over that was not allocated by resolution.
So as far as broadband deployment is concerned, are we anticipating any other funds? And like any funds that came from other sources?
It wouldn't go in this line item. If we apply for other grants, it would be in other grants
Elsewhere.
elsewhere, yes. And there's nothing in this budget.
Thank
I don't
you.
believe.
There's not.
Mr. Cusack?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify what we've been talking about, to get back to the COVID-19 money. I looked up the guidelines, and they're as follows. Revenue replacement, and we've talked about that. The other one is COVID-19 expenditures or negative economic impacts, including assistance to small businesses, households, hard-hit industries, and economic recovery, premium pay for essential workers, and investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure.
Yep.
That's it.
We've done all that.
And
Right.
lead-based paint is part of the water, sewer, and infrastructure.
Okay, but, you know, my question is, one area where we were hard hit was the loss of hotel tax money that year. Did we ever do a replacement for that?
We did give
We
out
did
extra COVID
revenue.
money, yes, for all of our grant programs. During
Yes.
COVID, we did,
We did.
Okay.
yes.
I'm just looking for places where we could possibly reallocate the money, because, you know, that's one where we've been successful handing out grant money.
And there was also, totally separate from all this, we weren't eligible, but venues that lost revenue from concerts and such like that, there was a special program that the federal government provided for venues to keep them going because they knew they lost
State
significant
Theater and
incomes.
Wind Creek.
Exactly, yes. There was a venue that they could
Scattered
apply
sites,
for, yes.
Just out of curiosity, we're going to have money going over into 25, and I'm not mistaken the way this thing is going, because jobs aren't getting done. They're not
So,
they still may not get done in 24.
so some
have-
of it can't go to 25 in some cases, okay?
Can or cannot?
Cannot. It's the first tranche, I don't believe, can go to 25. I didn't look at the dates, so, but I believe we cover that with revenue replacement from the federal reporting. Therefore, the federal government won't claw it back from us.
Okay.
So it can sit in our general fund until we spend it on those resolved items. Specifically because we, for the premium pay, we've offered sign-on bonuses and retention bonuses that you have to meet a certain milestone to get that, and those go beyond 2025.
Yes, okay. Any other questions? Good. Let's move on to affordable housing on 83 and 70. Questions? Ms. Zirinsky?
Can I ask why CLV, I think it's CALV, right? Why there's nothing allocated to them? In previous years, they've gotten $6,000. And then also, the Easton Redevelopment Authority has gotten $18,200 in previous years.
The CALV, they already spent that money down. So we have a new affordable housing grant round that's coming out for $400,000.
So they could apply
So,
again.
yes, any of those eligible entities can apply for that funding.
Okay, so they haven't received any money necessarily allocated directly in the budget, but they have access to potential grants in the future.
We give a large amount of grant money to
That's what I thought.
CALV as an organization for various projects in all the different pots we have.
Right, because they're here pretty often.
Yeah, and we're working with them on the Glendon project, so there's the home money.
We love the Glendon project, don't we? Yep, okay, thank
Does
you.
that seem responsible for the Eastern Redevelopment Authority?
Yes.
Yes,
Yep. Same opportunity. They did apply.
They're just
They-
taking care of, okay.
Yep, they did apply for affordable housing grant.
Lori?
Tina, are these calendar year or,
We did not have affordable housing last year because we simply did not have the funding. Nobody was buying houses. Revenue numbers were down. So I foresee this as a potential every other year project. So we do have it coming forth this year with the $400,000 we have available. So we'll likely not have it next year to get a sizable pot again because it's a competitive grant.
but it comes from where again?
It comes from our deed revenue,
What revenue?
deeds.
What, just when you buy a
Like
house.
deeds when you
there's
buy a house.
It's one of those
Yeah, I
fees.
got that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I understand what a deed is. I have one
But I
or
guess
two.
if I can widen out the lens a little bit, because some of your grants are calendar year and some of your grants are fiscal year, correct? Or like, it's because some are federal, some are state, so they on.
Yeah, only
or
the
they all-
CD
They don't
only
all
the
go
s-
January to December, correct?
No, only the CDBG is federal. All the rest come from casino revenues and our deeds money.
The federal government does not run on a fiscal year either. They run on a federal government year, which is October 1st to September 30th.
Any other questions?
Just a quick question.
I knew you would.
No, I just, actually, it's a simple question.
Good.
I hope. Center for Animal Health and Welfare.
That's the next
I,
category.
not there
I,
yet.
We
I
haven't gotten there
withdraw
yet.
my question and
Okay.
ask to be recognized in the next.
I will do that then.
part.
Anybody else have any questions on affordable housing?
Good.
Okay, we will move on to that, and we will move on to grants, 84 and 71.
That's the question.
What?
Can I get to that page yet, Mr.?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
I have a question.
Okay, we'll let Mr. Ron Heckman he's chomping that bit, and I'll get back to you.
No,
I didn't realize he was,
I just have a quick question. Center for Animal Health and Welfare, we used to give them 10,000. Or 1,000. Now we don't. Why aren't we giving them any money?
That was council contingency funds.
Oh, I forgot.
that's like that thing in.
I believe Mr. Kusick proposes animal health and
Right,
welfare annually.
This is where council contingency grants fall, once council approves them, and we get a grant agreement to make sure they spend money.
Yes, you're absolutely right, and
That's exactly what I was thinking for your project.
well, we'll see.
$5,000.
Okay. Okay, that was it.
Shaking a tree, you know what I mean? You might be able to get it that way.
Oh, boy. All right.
I'm done.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yeah, okay, thank you. So we're on to grants now, right?
Yes.
Yep, okay, that's what I thought. I see the hydroelectric power plant project in 2023. It says that construction's underway and that it should be completed in 2024, is that?
Our share of the money will be spent in 2023, the 1.1 million that's left. There's no money in the 2024 budget.
Well, it says 10,000. What's that from? It's just a rollover?
Stevens Place.
That's Stevens
Stevens
Place.
Place.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I read that wrong. But that's okay, Stephen.
That's fine.
No, I was looking at it
No,
in
look at
the
Stevens
blue
Place alone.
book, or in the white book.
Ms.
You're looking
Barron,
in the way.
And it just talked about that. But when do we anticipate that will be up and running?
The invoices, the invoice will be coming from New England Hydro Plant. I don't know when it will be up and running. They have a construction timetable. We are a very small portion of that project fiscally, but
Right.
we're not budgeting for it in 2024. The money isn't there in
No,
2024.
it's not there. No. Okay. No, I was just wondering where that project was going since it was there.
if I'm not mistaken, Mr. President, I think in Easton
still working
hasn't
We
finalized their grant.
it's not a grant. They're leasing us the land. We anticipate that will be done in short order. My guess is sometime next month or very early next
But
month.
we're done with this project now.
Once that money goes out the door, yes, we're done. We're not budgeting for it in 2024.
Good. God bless them. See what they do.
Do we receive any revenue from that then?
Some of that is yet to be determined. It is a grant. There's a lot to be discussed yet. I don't want to promise anything, and we will have a presentation for council when those details are worked out.
We're still in discussion with
wait.
the city of Easton.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Ms. Cusack?
Yeah, I actually watched an Easton City Council meeting. It was supposed to be on the agenda. I think their first meeting in October, it was not addressed. It was pulled from the agenda. It is not on their agenda tonight.
No.
So as of today, right now, they don't have a lease agreement. And you are telling us that they will have a lease agreement and $1.1 million will be out the door by the end of the year.
I am projecting that, and there is no money for this project.
You know,
in
you're
the
projecting that, but
2024
the
budget.
reality is, as of now, there is no lease with the city of Easton.
No, not yet, no.
Okay. So we'll see.
Anybody else? Going once? All right. We're gonna move on to grants, 84. I'm sorry, hotel rentals.
Hey, the Phillies
Pride and
lost
joy.
bad last night, and we're all a little shell-shocked, so.
Hotel tax 2,000.
85 and 72.
I was gonna wear my jersey today, now I can't. Happens,
I'm just shell-shocked.
yeah. Oh, this is the big one.
Hotel rental tax. Questions?
Where to begin? General question, Tina, if you could you just briefly, what are the parameters for giving these grants out again?
For hotel tax?
Yeah, using the hotel tax.
Sure.
Just to refresh.
Well, we collect the revenue in from casino monies. There's a review committee, and I would like to thank Council President Myers for sitting on that committee. We have other members of the community that was at our committee meeting. Alex Michaels, who's the president of Discover Lehigh Valley, was there. Lisa Barada, who is the CEO of Third Street Alliance, was there. Pam Pearson, who is from Crayola. So we have a good variety of outside folks in addition to DCED staff and Mr. Barron. But basically, it is to support anything to encourage tourism within the county. We like to say heads and beds, what's going to generate visitors, increase our hotel tax revenue. And there is a commitment from the applicants. They do have a 25% match for this as well, so they're vested interest.
Thanks for the update.
Sure.
And we went over it line by line by line. So we did not take any shortcuts.
We're not going to go over it line by line right now? No?
Knock yourself out. Go ahead.
Are you going over grants, grant questions now? Okay.
Yeah, we're doing grants.
Specific
Grant
grants?
questions.
Okay.
Hotel rentals is what we're working at 85 now.
Yes,
The grants. Go ahead, John.
Last I checked, Lower Macungie Township was not in Northampton County. And we have a grant for them for $10,000. Could you please explain why that is?
Sure, let me find my page, and I'm happy to.
On page 2.
The Lower Macungie Township Historical Society, Fry's Rebellion Film.
Hang on, I've got way too many papers here. Okay, I'm sorry, which one are you looking at, Mr. Kusick?
The
you looking at
hotel
the
tax
sheets?
grant sheet that it's on page 2, it's item number
Fry's
42.
Rebellion film.
Fry's Rebellion Film, Lower Macungie Township Historical Society.
So that is a film that they're doing that is going to take place in both Lehigh and Northampton counties. So Northampton County is going to be featured in the show as well as one of the premiere movie nights. So it's a bi-county project.
Joint venture.
Is that part of America 250?
Yes, well, they are going to be stressing in conjunction with that, it is actually part of their, not our specific, but to coincide with the whole America 250, yes.
Okay, then the other one I had was, if we back up to number 21, the West Ward Lighting Project. I have nothing against it. I think it sounds nice. Why wouldn't that be part of Grow Norco, and why is that a hotel tax grant? Again, I'm for it sounds great, but I'm not feeling it as a hotel tax tourism type of, I think it should be elsewhere, let's put it that way. Why isn't it Grow Norco, and why is it a hotel tax grant?
It's their first-time applicant, and so they're just looking to beautify the area to make it more attractive for visitation. So our recommended funding was only $3,000 for that project
How much
as a
did they
result.
apply for?
They applied for $10,000.
Applied for 10,000?
Yes.
They also got money to do the West Ward now that's been pumped in if you can go up Wood Avenue.
Yeah, I mean, there's work being done there right now, I believe.
Yeah, there is.
Again, I support it, but I don't support it on this line item. I think it's more appropriately placed in Grow Norco, and I would even support adding additional money to it. Why was it cut down from 10 to 3?
We had to cut everything down. Mr. Myers can kind of adhere to that as a committee member, but I will tell you, Grow Norco specifically, our total requests totaled $1,351,414 as opposed to a $614,000 budget.
We got half of what we.
It's literally 3 times, we could have spent 3 times our allotment in comparison with the requests that we get, so.
All right, so what you're saying is that,
Everybody took a hit.
yeah,
Yeah,
all right.
but that's not the only lighting thing on this.
No,
I mean,
it's not.
Hanover is asking for 2024 tree lighting.
Well, that's.
That's tree lighting, though, that's a specific event.
So West Ward lighting is just like the regular lighting.
Like they have downtown Easton in the Circle.
Yes.
But there's also, there's other projects on here too that are mainly, I think you could justify them necessarily as tourism related because, I mean, if you're talking about trying to bring people to that area, lighting, I guess.
Yeah, and the city of Bethlehem asks for Christmas decorations, essentially, because they're on the Hallmark Channel, so
But not
it's
really.
it's all about tourism.
Not really,
Christmas.
just the name, I guess.
Just the name, and the outdoor, okay, sorry. The ice rink, $20,000. I know that last year that did not generate revenue, that was lost. What's the projection this year?
I have no idea what ArtsQuest is projecting. I don't know that they submitted that in their application, but I know that they had, I don't know that it was profitable per se.
Right.
That would be a question for them because, we just get the receipts and do the reimbursement. But I do know from everything that I saw, it did generate a lot of interest.
Okay, because I don't see Easton's rink.
They didn't ask for it.
Oh, they didn't,
No, they asked for something different
They
this
got
year.
something else with space.
Yep.
with space?
Yeah. It's,
Space Fest 2024.
yes. Space Fest
Are we
2024.
allowed to know what that is? Or is that a big secret?
It's a second year event. I think it takes place is that the middle school now?
Yes.
I'm confused. They changed all the schools, but yes. And then they utilize the football field.
Yes.
And they've got folks from NASA who come in and do educational talks. I did not personally get there, but it draws people.
Yes.
That sounds awesome.
So it's open to everybody, not just the
Yes.
students?
Oh, no, absolutely. It's open to the public.
It's open to the entire community.
We could all go to Space Fest.
Yes.
Carrie, can I ask a question?
You can ask the questions.
So the Nutcracker, we continue to give money to them. What is that 10,000 for? I have a feeling I know the answer, but I'm asking anyway, to see if I'm right.
Do you remember specifically? It's just marketing, programming.
Is that the state
It doesn't go to fund the students that come in?
Sometimes, one of the eligible expenses, if they pay for entertainment or a professional to come in, yes.
What's Spuds and Suds?
That's
Buds and
the,
suds?
that's Bath's annual outdoor festival.
So I guess there's 3 different buckets of money. Did everybody get at least something? Is there any community that got nothing? Because it looks like, when I look across the 3, and I know I'm jumping ahead,
There were some.
people got a
didn't give.
lot.
No, we try to be fair and give something to just about everybody. Like I said, obviously, everybody had to take a pay cut when you get 3 times your allotment. So,
There were some we didn't give to.
If there was any projects that weren't funded, they were either not eligible for the specific funding program, and they were moved to a different bucket, or there was just a project that wasn't looked upon as being feasible.
So there's Historic Bethlehem Museum for World Heritage Visitation, that's $40,000, right? But then there's something else, Moravian Historical Society and Moravian College, like, are any of these things, and then UNESCO's getting a separate pile of money that's not on this list, so do they all tie together in some way, or are they all separate and discrete projects?
No, I mean, Historic Bethlehem Museum and Sites, all of their activities flow together, if you will. It's all tourism, especially now with promoting UNESCO. And then the Moravian College projects is to pay the students as docents for the downtown visitors.
And then what's the UNESCO Heritage? Oh, it's the marketing, that's
Yes.
marketing money?
Yes.
Yes, that is specifically for a website.
I guess I should just ask, how many of these projects do relate in some way to America 250? And maybe that's a question for Steve. But I know that they came in here, and I know that we're looking to give them some.
I think everything is a foundation towards America 250 with regard to, like, for example, the Siegel Museum is doing their Passport to History, which will start building that programming in. I think we're too soon to actually ask for funding with that regard. I think there's a lot of stuff that still needs to be figured out, but all of these historical programs build towards that America 250 PA.
And the last question I have is the Pennsylvania Shakespeare Festival. Does that mean that they're doing a?
It's at the sales, isn't it?
It's at DeSales. It's the Shakespeare Festival they have every year at DeSales.
Well, this specific is they're coming over to the Fowler Center at Southside and doing the community tour. So that funding will go directly towards the Fowler
So they're
Center
gonna do a
activity.
presentation there instead
Fowler
of
Yes.
at the sales?
Yes,
Thank you.
sure.
Yes, Mr. Heckman.
I see we're doing 5,000 for Godfrey Daniels.
Wrong one. That's Girl Norcar. No code. We're still, no.
Godfrey
We're on
Daniels,
the hotel.
You moved on to.
I moved on.
Godfrey Daniels
still
is
in
in
hotel
hotel
rental.
tax
It's,
as well.
No, never mind, I withdraw.
Thank you. Any other questions? Are we done with that? Okay, we're going to move on to hotel rental tax 2005, 86 and 74. Okay, now that I'm set, anybody have any questions?
Question.
Yes, Mr. Heckman.
DL National Heritage Corridor, is this the first time they've applied?
This is for the race that they came and they did the presentation.
Ah, okay, all right.
Yeah.
And the Arts Quest, the 200,000, does that relate to the skating rink, or is that a different?
No, that's the separate delegation that council voted to give them 200,000 over the 10 years.
Oh, that's 10 years, yeah,
Banana
Yes.
factory, right?
good.
Yeah.
Banana
Yeah, we have
factory.
7 years left.
Yes.
Yeah, I better get a hustle on that, this will pass fast. Hustle. So, future grants, and this is probably Steve. Steve, I see we've got almost $100,000 increase for future grants. Is that based on, that you're projecting?
No, I think. Is that the slot money? That extra, no. Which one is that? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's just the fund, it is, it's just the fund balance increasing of the amount of money we have.
Thanks.
Yep,
That's what I was
sorry.
curious about. No problem. That was it, sir.
Lori?
So most of these people, I assume you give them the money, they get it done, right? And I've been on your committees before, but what if they don't? What happens?
I'm sorry, say that
Like, do
again?
we just give them the money or do?
No, we don't just give them money, it's reimbursement. So,
have to
so
make
they've got to
certain
give us their expenditures first, and then we submit their reimbursement check.
And is there a timeline at which point we say, okay, it's not going to happen, and we stop the project? Like how?
Our
long is it for
our
completion?
contracts are annual, and so if they run over on a project because of XYZ factors, then they have to send a letter of request asking for an extension.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Let's move along to gaming host tables. I'm sorry, community development grants. Sorry about that, senior moment.
Now, which ones are
That's
those?
okay.
8775, watch it there, Dara.
Yeah, but which, is that Grow Norco or?
Okay.
CD.
Yeah, this is the old standby.
Do I have that list?
87 and 75, it should be.
That's written there.
8775, got it.
8775.
These are Grow Norco, these are public safety.
There's that lead paint again.
Community develop, we don't have a breakdown, but we do have it right here. So there's a lot.
Questions?
Oh, I have a question.
Ms. Zirinsky.
The home, whole home repairs? Is that's listed here? I can't find it.
No,
It's not listed here.
no, it's not. It's not on this page, no.
So, okay. Very good. Because I was looking and it says like Housing Urban Development, Home Investment Partnerships Program, but that home.
Yeah, the whole
investment
home
part-
is a
whole home is
completely
totally
separate
different.
pot of money.
Got it. Got it.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Heckman.
Tina, just out of curiosity, the LV, oh, where did I see it? Oh, the LVEDC, we're giving them 32,200. 33,000, excuse me, 200. I know the law with tourism or the hotel tax, they're under that umbrella where they're guaranteed something.
Correct.
Is this a separate?
This is separate. This is for their part in the EPA project money that we had. So this is
What did they
not the
do?
percentage. They had a person on staff previous that did help with some of the environmental work and working with the consultants on the project. So
they're
that's,
Charging back to,
yes.
all right,
But that's not that. This isn't that hotel tax money.
okay. No, I mean, I just was curious about why we gave them money besides that. Lord knows they don't need it. Oh, if we're gonna talk about salaries, we can go there. But the thing is, I think that was the only question I had, just because I was curious. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, I have a question. Where does the CDBG, you know, I always say that wrong every stinking year, because you know what I think of instead, but, that's right. So aren't there projects for that? And is there a list for those projects as well, or no, we didn't?
Yes, we did bring that to Economic Development Committee already, and Mr. Brooks reviewed and went through that list with you. But we can,
We get a copy of that list.
I have it here.
And these are usually when they're requesting to build something or rehab
It's,
something.
yeah, the municipalities, a lot of street and road work.
Yeah, blight remediation, not so much of that, huh?
Do you want to give a quick run through? I don't have mine here.
I think we're good.
Do you want me just to pull some out of here?
Yeah, some. 'cause
okay.
Again, these have to be matched, correct? They have to be done in a timely way, same.
They have to be done timely in their agreements. There's no match for these.
match for
Correct. So as example, Wilson Borough parking lot, ADA handicap accessible ramps received $150,000. Easton Area Community Senior Center received restroom improvements for just over $22,000.
Where is that located at?
Easton Area Senior Center, I'm not sure,
that
which
neighborhood
one
center?
was it? In the community center itself,
Community Center in Easton?
yes.
Okay, I'm the Easton guy. Where the hell is that at?
What's the address?
You're talking St. Anthony's?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know the
I
address.
forgot they changed that name. Okay.
Bangor Road paving and ADA ramps received $130,000. Northampton Borough got money, $20,000 for program work. Wesley Church Back to School Program received $7,000 for their backpack program, so it's pretty diverse. A lot of this is municipal heavy. They would not be able to do a lot of their infrastructure and repairs without these funds, but I'll gladly give you a copy of the list.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Did we get anything from Forks Township that did not qualify after they got hit with rain?
Don't think Forks is on here.
Zucksville Road?
I don't even know that they applied. Yeah,
They
they're
didn't even
not.
apply?
Yeah, they didn't apply, and they're
So
not
Zucksville Road got
in
knocked
the
out.
census
Okay.
tract either.
Okay. Any other questions on community development grants? Yes, Mr. Giovanni.
Yes. Where are you looking at here?
250,000?
Page 75. LSA Monroe grant.
It's not. Hang on. That is the Bangor Trust Building. Yes,
Did that used to be a pub?
yes,
Oh,
yeah.
I do know what that.
Yeah, it's principal and interest on the loan to the Bangor Trust Building. We've got one additional payment in 2024 and a balloon payment in 2024, and then that should be done. Yes,
Oh, okay.
Sleep at
I
one.
see it. It's passed. Gotcha.
I don't know, but I can look and let you know. It seems like it's been going for a while. Yeah.
Mr. Cusack?
Recovery Revolution, would they be eligible for the opioid settlement money rather than? I mean, I see they're getting a CDBG, but I'm just wondering if they'd also be eligible for the.
I didn't work with that.
That would be an
That's what I thought,
excellent, that would be an excellent question for Ms. Jorley when she comes for Human Services. And I mean that with, I don't know
okay,
the
yeah.
restrictions around all that money. There are several pots of that money, 2 pots, I should say, not several, 2. But you should ask her, because I don't know that it's for recovery as much as it is for advertising and programming the dangers of opioids. And I think you have to ask her. You just have to ask her.
There
Well-
has to be part of that money that's for.
Yeah, I
programming.
mean, to me, that sounds like that would be part of the opioid settlement money, and then you could use this money, because we know money is fungible. We can use the money for something else, you know.
You'd have to ask her. I don't know. There was an application made. She didn't apply to that program. I don't know if some of that money is programmed or how they have their program built and whether or not Recovery Revolutions would qualify. Honestly, I don't know. You have to ask Human Services.
Well, then what's this for?
The Recovery Revolution is just a pass-through grant. They're doing some building renovations, as far as I know. But again, they're literally working with Human Services. I think that at some point, Jana had come to a Human Services Committee meeting and made a presentation on the project. We just really upload the paperwork.
Yeah, you have to really ask.
I do remember them coming in.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this? Are we done? Gaming host county tables, 88 and 77. Questions from council? Yes, Mr.
I
Kusick.
bring this up every year. LVEDC, the $75,000. We already have, they're getting money from the hotel tax. We saw the previous one and now this 75. That's, what is that program again and why does it keep getting 75,000?
It's just an annual contribution.
It's actually programmed into the legislation. They are set up as the organization that gets that specific amount of money, just like Discover Lehigh Valley. So as the money is distributed out, that is the way the money breaks down in the statute.
As part of the gaming statute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Mr.
Forever? Like in perpetuity?
That's what they get. It's in the legislation.
I'm asking the question, is it forever or is it time limited?
We're going to wait and see if they answer that because they're talking.
Is this?
Yeah, no,
Okay, I'm going to scratch that, Mr. Kusick. I apologize. Because their LVEDC gets money from a couple different sources. So this is an annual contribution. I apologize.
Contribution from?
From the county
counties.
in these funds.
So this isn't in the legislation?
This is, no, it's not part of that. I apologize.
What is?
Didn't this start out as a brownfield grant, if I recall?
So I think they do manage some of the brownfield
They
stuff.
do.
That's where it originally started.
Yes.
Yeah, again, what happens is once money starts, it never seems to stop. If the brownfield program has been completed, then why are we continuing to fund? That's what I would like to know. This was originally part of a brownfield remediation grant. And now it just, grants wind up on autopilot.
Well,
So if you
they
could,
still are,
of it.
they still are doing some of the brownfield work. So I apologize. They do get hotel tax. That's why I was confused.
Okay.
They still are doing some brownfield work for us.
Where?
Easton Iron and Metal, with the city of East. So they're attached to that project.
Yeah, it's definitely a
Yeah.
super fun
So
site.
it's one of those sites that's had, a lot of development changes over the last, since pandemic. So it's a slow rolling project and it's kind of just rolled into that kind of funds
Okay.
administering that.
I just wanted to make sure.
That project is the Stern, that's going to be part of the art project. So we're cleaning it up for the art project. Is that where that money's going?
I believe there is mixed-use residential going over there as well. You'll have to go to the folks over at Easton. I think there's, as the economy has changed, the development partners have also adjusted. So that's part of the reason why it's been delayed, but also what the final result is going to be is still to be determined.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Heckman, that answers thing, that adds something to it.
Well, no, the LVEDC, it's a popular topic. Is that, they don't have to submit any kind of receipts, they just get 75K
For this pot, correct.
for this pot. We'll see, maybe, I'd love to know what they're doing for the old mill to warrant 75,000. I mean, I know they do a lot of commercials, they do a lot of speaking engagements, but I'd love to know what of substance they're providing for this. I mean, together with the other grant, they're gonna get $100,000. And I know we jumped all over the planning commission because it was said, well, they're gonna just take the money and they're gonna give people more money, look at their salaries. It's a fair question if you're taking taxpayer money. Well, this is taxpayer money, and maybe they should come in and tell us some of their salaries. I mean, at the end of the day, well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day,
He's not lying.
at economic development, I think we have had so much economic development in Northampton County. Now, if Lehigh wants more, God bless them. But I don't really know. I know they've talked about getting a hub for like a
Tech hub.
techno hub, and that fell through.
We're not getting it right.
That fell through. But we were in the running, which, I don't know. I guess we could have been in the running just sending in an application. But the thing is, I saw along those lines, I see that I watch certain things that we give money to, and most things are fine. And look, I agree, like Steve has said and you've said, some of these things are just the way they are. And that's where the money goes. And you have the rules you have to abide by, so I get that. I just, some of this stuff with grants and that, I question. And I questioned, I guess I question, we have the Planning Commission, we have the Economic Development. And I don't know, I just wonder what they're doing. I mean, I see commercials, but I don't know what they really do that we need to give them money. I know we have to give them
The hotel tax.
hotel tax.
Yes, that is.
But I mean, the table, and I know they'll work stuff out, but it's just a question I had. And and I appreciate your patience. And I think the problem is, and for even that applies to even Mr. Barron, who I've known forever, and when we go back and forth, there's nothing more than just doing that. But the thing is, I think this is difficult for council now, if I could just say that. And I know Mr. Brown probably can relate, and so can Mr. Kusick. We've had all this, and it gets confusing because we've had a lot of these things forever, but with this flood of money that came in, I repeat myself on that. But and then the restrictions, the non-restrictions, and our job is budget. It's really gotten difficult to sort of parse out the different lines of money. And being in economic development, community development, that if there's a pot of money, you're going to have people with their hands out. And they're going to come up with it. It's been that way forever. But now you have exponentially more money. So I'm glad COVID is dying down. Thank God. And
So are we.
And honestly, I'm going to be glad when this money goes, and then we can get back to like actually talking about the money we usually talk about. But I just wanted to say that. I mean, I know it's difficult, and you're probably getting more questions and tougher questions now just because there's so many funding streams coming in, and it could get confusing as hell.
We understand, and believe me, some days it's confusing for us too, because
Sure it
the
is.
federal and state government are constantly changing some of the rules and regulations, and every time you ask, it's fluid.
Yeah.
So we try to keep up with it as well.
Well, you got Mr. Barron to lean on, and he's leanable, so there you go. Anyway, thank you. That's all.
Okay. In Norco EMS Public Safety Grant, it's a 19% reduction. Why? Is that COVID money that has been gone?
I'm sorry, where are you, Mr. Myers?
Thank you, Tara. Expenditures. Norco EMS Public Safety Grant. It was 9,962. Now it's gone to 782, so we lost 180,000. Is it reduced? Was it stuff that we?
No, we have public safety requests, just so you know, when we get to that list, we had $824,851 in grant requests as opposed to a $300,000 budget.
Wow.
For public safety grants, we had $824,851 in grant requests as opposed to a $300,000 budget.
Yes, Tom?
Is that why, on the list, I'm looking at the wards, Columbia Firehouse didn't get anything from Rosetta? I know they asked for 20,000.
Yeah, so what we tried to do, because how do you determine which agency is more relevant than another when it comes to potential lives and safety? We tried to fairly fund projects that had more of a significant impact. And I can tell you, Columbia Fire Company specifically, they did receive $50,000 in 2021, and they did not apply for money in 2022. So when we looked at the list, we tried to concentrate on areas of significant impact. And so we took care of areas this year, and then next year we'll shift to another area.
So they did in 22, but they did in 2023 to apply for stuff.
2021, they received $50,000.
They didn't in 2022,
They didn't apply in 2022, correct?
but in 2023 they did?
They did,
Okay. And that was the 20,000 they just applied for.
correct.
Any other questions on that? We're moving on to Grow Norcar.
Wait a minute, slow down.
So have at it. 89 and 78.
Can we go back? Can we go, I just have,
No, we're in Grow Norcar.
I wanted to go back, but
The what?
What's wrong with it?
What's wrong with it? So I will tell you for your information, as you're looking through these lists, Grow Norco's grant request was just over $2 million. So $2,011,000, 451, as opposed to our $800,000 budget.
Wow. People
I
really
think it's helpful to know that as you look at these lists, because we wish we had enough to satisfy everybody, and obviously we do not.
and are these matches as well, or no?
Yes, Grow Norco has a dollar for dollar match. Unless it's a community planning grant, in which case the dollar match is for every $2 granted. So a lot of municipalities on this list as well.
I see this.
I have a couple questions. Go on.
Questions? Lori?
So what's the Norco Wealthy Grad Launch Project?
Which one is that?
Number 30158, Collegiate Empowerment.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're on.
I do remember that one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That is a financial literacy program for, elementary through high school students. It's partnering with college students to kind of come down and get a chance to teach younger students at, as early as we can about the importance of financial literacy. They are a first-time applicant for funds, so we're providing them with the ability to get the materials for the pre-made program for it.
So, but who are they? Like, they just have that name, or it's a group of college students that said, let's go do this, or are they?
It's a national program, so this is the local chapter that's trying to get this established in the area.
When they're coming from our local colleges?
Yep.
Sorry.
Yes, Tara.
How come some places get grants from, well, like Freemsburg, their amphitheater construction? Oh, because one is construction and one is electrical. So in hotel grant, hotel tax, they got amphitheater construction, 15, and for electrical improvements, they got 25,000 from Norco.
Yeah, so Freemansburg, that specific project, the total of the project is over $450,000.
Wow.
So, and Freemansburg Borough, it's literally the only project that they applied for.
I imagine, they don't have a lot of projects.
No.
They don't have a lot of land.
No, I went to Freemansburg Elementary School, I'm well aware of that area. And good for them that they're trying to make some development and
Yes.
improvement to their area. I'm sure
Great.
that amphitheater is gonna be someplace where the community can congregate and
Absolutely.
enjoy, but I just asked.
Mr. Heckman?
Yeah, I'm good for them. I mean, when I came back from Philly, I got an apartment in Freemansburg, and I didn't know they had an amphitheater. I didn't know they were planning it.
Not yet, they're building it.
Where are they putting it?
It's new, it's probably gonna
Right
go
by
in
the
that
park.
park.
Oh, okay.
That big, huge park, that's what
I
I
used to
imagine.
go fishing with my son down at the canal when there was still water in it and in the river. But
Yes.
that was a nice little place. Good luck. I guess the question I have is, a couple. One, the Arts Quest, and maybe this has been answered. We budgeted 25,000 this for 23. The projection is they'll spend nothing. 2024, we're budgeting 25,000 again. Is that for that building they want to do, or what is that for?
No, it's for the repair.
For
Oh,
the,
I'm sorry. I'm in the
Bridge-
blue
bridge
book, page
sculpture.
79. It's easier for me and clarifies things much more.
Yeah, sure.
The white book is almost useless. No offense. That has nothing to do with you guys.
So it's not here.
Wow.
It's, if you look at the, it might be on your sheet too, though, I would think.
Oh, so I see.
On the blue book, it's the fourth one down on page 79.
Arts Quest, 25,000?
Yeah. Well,
Repair of bridge sculpture, it says.
No,
we budgeted last year and they didn't use it. You projected.
Correct, and so it's the rollover funds from their last year's award.
What was their last year's award for?
50,000.
What did they want to use it for?
I believe it was lightings for their, the parking lots, I believe, lighting infrastructure improvements.
Okay. And I go down and I see Bethlehem City. We budgeted 750,000 for 23. They spent 5, and we're going to budgeting 59.8 for 24. What do they want that for?
What page you on, Ron?
he's still on 79.
79, about the middle of the page, Bethlehem City.
I asked the younger one, whose memory's better than mine.
I believe that's the ambassador program for the city.
Wow.
And
Oh, I noticed
and
we're
the
keeping
Ambassadors
anything on Iron
program?
Place this year.
They have, just like Easton Ambassadors,
Yeah,
they have
that's
ones
the
for
program.
Southside.
Okay, so Bethlehem Township then also, we budgeted $79,000 plus last year. They're projected to spend 14.8, and we're giving them 64.8 this year. What is that for?
This year, Bethlehem Township is the municipal complex parking lot addition. And there's 25,000 for that
Yeah,
allocated.
you have it on your sheet here. I just was curious if it was the same. The reason I'm
I
asking,
don't remember what last year's project was, do you?
maybe it's a continuation. They didn't spend it all. I don't know, but
That's what it would be. I just don't remember the project.
So these grants, the grant agreements, if there's a specific project before you leave today, we'll make sure we get you what that is. There's grant agreements in place for them, and the townships are matching them dollar for dollar,
yeah, so the city will match it dollar for dollar.
or the township,
Or
yes.
whatever, yeah, I guess, look, I'm not the community development expert, you are. I'm just concerned about, and I live in Bethlehem, so disclaimer. Bethlehem has made a commitment to filling every square inch with housing. They're going to build unaffordable housing here, there, and everywhere in that city. In fact, it's even been said by some leaders in Bethlehem. The apartments that are coming in are just unbelievable. Same with Bethlehem Township. I mean, the old saying was Bethlehem Township didn't know a development they could say no to, or a project they could say no to. I'm just, the tax money that's going to be flowing into the city of Bethlehem from these projects, and a very wealthy township like Bethlehem Township, I guess my question would be, and you're saying about the match, I hope that we're not turning down grants for some of the smaller municipalities and townships in favor, and I know Bethlehem there's a lot of political from Bethlehem, and that's always been, it predates you guys, it's been around forever. But some of these places, I know, for example, there was one, I think was Hanover Township too. We're giving them a chunk of change. And these are places where they have so much development that, I guess this year we didn't budget them, thank God. Because they're wealthy. I mean, you know, in the city of Bethlehem, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. That's maybe more for the future. But Bethlehem Township, I mean, I know how long it took me to get from Bethlehem to Easton today. And they're going to put up 2 huge apartment complexes, one across the street from Giant in the city of Bethlehem, and right across where this drive-in used to be, the Bethlehem Drive-In Theater. They're going to put the other huge development up. And they're all going to funnel out to that 2-lane road. I'm just fascinated. Easton Avenue. So, I mean, whether it's the south side, the north side, the west side, they are just, and even existing buildings, guys are buying them, they're ripping them down, they're going to put up unaffordable housing. So I just, I don't know. I mean, going forward, and you said no, so I'm accepting that at face value. I just think going forward, I'd like to see smaller areas get a green light if it comes down to a difference between the city, and it's a population center, but, you know, I also like to look at income. So anyway, but.
Well, and I can assure you, Mr. Heckman, that since we've been here
Yeah.
in this administration, we've done a great deal of outreach, in particular to the Slate Belt regions, and participating in their meetings and their Economic Development Committee through the Slate Belt Chamber. And, you know, we host annual grant workshops, and every single municipality is invited and encouraged, as well as all of our nonprofits. We've done things in the past working with Discover Lehigh Valley to put on educational events and try to get them to buy into tourism, but we can't award somebody that doesn't apply.
Well, and I get that, and I'm not questioning your outreach. I mean, when I was in Lehigh County, we tried to give money away to some of the municipalities, literally, without any strings, basically, and they were so suspicious, and they would say, like, no, we don't want to be part of it. So, I mean, yeah,
I think we're getting much better about that. I don't get a lot of no's anymore.
well, the
but-
problem was that you'd want 2 municipalities to cooperate and agree and share the funds, and that was what really became a problem. But, yeah, okay, I was just curious about some of those projects. I know you have to make decisions, and I get the outreach and everything. So my point was just, you've said with a lot of these, you only have so much money now, and you've got to make decisions. And it's not like you said, well, this is a lousy decision, but we're giving it to them. No, but I'm just saying, I hope, and you're saying it hasn't, that some of these smaller ones or some other ones get it. I think what you said about we had X amount, you've been saying, and now we only have this much for these different things. I think you're going to have dieter's remorse when they realize that you know, there's no longer the big T-bone steaks and out there to eat, and they're handed a dry Weight Watchers meal and say, here's your dinner. Because for the last few years, well, I mean, for the last few years, the money's been flowing.
They've enjoyed the excess, I will say, yes.
I was on Weight Watchers once. But anyway, the thing is, no, I wish you luck going forward. I wish you luck going forward because you can have a lot of unhappy people.
Okay,
done.
I got a couple. Pennsylvania Playhouse, that's Lehigh County, $2,800?
It's not, it's Northampton County.
Where exactly in Northampton County?
It's by Ilix Mill Road.
Oh,
Yeah, golf
Nice
course.
house.
Elix Mill Road. Okay. Eastern Neighborhood Center is getting $30,000 for a second year. Did they not use it, or are we just giving them that again, and what are they using it for? Eastern Neighborhood Center, 72346 in the book,
30,000.
$30,000. Do you have any idea what they're going to use it for?
I believe that is improvements to the building.
Building.
Yes.
Okay. My last one is VIA. I see we giving money to VIA to redo a parking lot? For 20,000? 30155 on your sheets.
So I believe part of the reason for that is they do deal with a lot of folks with disabilities, and just as it's deteriorated over the years, they're saying that it's making it more difficult for them to maneuver within the premises that they have currently.
Where's the VIA billing out in Lehigh Valley? In Fountain Hill? Where's that at?
Oh, you're thinking of by St. Luke's.
Because I just want to know where it's at.
Thinking
I'm
of,
not questioning.
Was it Kidsby's?
Kids Peace, I think
191.
you're thinking of, no?
This is on one,
Be a building up on Fountain Hill, across the street.
there is
from
one
that.
that was closed.
But that's not what you're talking about.
Which one's this one, on 191?
I believe so. I don't have the
Is
actual
that north of
address.
22,
Yes.
That would be north of 20.
on the right-hand side?
Right.
Okay. That's it for me. Ms. Varya Hefner?
So there's extra money in here, in the, whatever color book I'm in. Am I in the blue book? 30,000 for the neighborhood center, 44 for Bangor Borough. What are those? Those are not Grow Norco awards. These are additional funds that are arbitrary or
So
flexible source of
if you
capital.
go to, so everything in previous years has already been contracted with. If you go to pages 185 and 186 in the white book, it is all the new grants awards. Anything else that's in there that seems different
Wait,
from
what
those
page?
fundings?
Am I right?
85 and 80,
185 and 186.
185 and 186?
and the blue book?
The
White
white
book.
book. We're doing it this way so it's a clear delineation. Everything else from previous years is under contract currently. These are the new awards.
So that's
So
the
carry
leftover
forwards in the
unspent
back.
money. These are not new awards to any of these folks.
Correct.
And again, how long do they have to, are they forever awards?
No, it's not forever. All of our grants are annual. And so their agreements are annual, but often they'll run into a construction delay, a project delay, shipment order delay for whatever reason. And so at that point, they will ask for an extension, which we will grant because it's still a viable project.
So if I may, Lori, just on what you're saying, Steve, is that why, from an accounting standpoint, it says carry forward? I'm looking at page 185, new award total. You have at the top 640, 20, 200, I mean, and then you just have dashes all the way down. But for each one of those, it would be what it was, like for Bangor, for, I don't know, Ben Franklin, 20,000. It would have been 20,000 we approved for 2020. No?
No, the 640, 200 is all previous year's allocations that are contracted. Everything in the new award column to the right of it are all the new awards.
Oh, so that's,
So that's, everything from previous years are put under the previous awards line item, and then they're dashed down, so obviously we're not including the previous awards because it's all in the 640.
okay, so this isn't any carry forward, this is in fact new.
Correct, and we wanted to make sure council knew that this was the new money that was in here, and anything that was contracted for, we didn't want council to misunderstand money that was already under agreement.
No,
they had
and that
approved
clears
previously.
it up, because
Yeah.
when I answered to Ms. Fargo Hefner, it confused me a little bit. It sounded like
Got it.
they had gotten it, but so this is all new. Thank you.
Does it say that the Iron Pigs are getting a new award?
No.
No, they withdrew their application.
He said not
But it's still in the book,
Well, it is, but we had to submit our budgets back in August, so.
but it's not. So we take
It's,
out
you
that
can
$20,000?
take that right out of there.
What page are you on?
184.
It wasn't on the sheet, though.
No,
I believe that is for
No, but I'm
hotel
just-
tax.
It says new award, that's why I asked.
Yeah, the Iron Pigs their application was hotel tax, but they withdrew their application.
I think they felt it from last year, you know?
As well it should.
Wow.
We didn't see it in the
suffering.
hotel tax. Okay, any other questions on this? Thomas?
And Tina,
Yes.
didn't apply for anything for
I'm sorry, who?
They didn't apply for anything?
For Grow Norco?
for the pool?
Sorry?
For the-
Oh, no, they did not.
Okay. That's what I was wondering.
Any other questions?
They may in the future.
Mr. Cusack?
Just going back to my previous point, you have, in Grow Norco, there's a banger project for lighting and safety upgrades. Again, I don't see the difference between that and the one in Easton. So again, I mean, they're both probably good projects, but I'm just wondering how we decided what pot we were gonna pull the money out of. The other one, Hellertown Borough, the Main Street security cameras, wouldn't that fall under public safety? I imagine that the cameras would tie in with the police department.
Yes, to answer your question, it would, but because we had a larger fund to pull from Grow Norco, we moved it over. And so sometimes municipalities or nonprofits will apply for one funding source, but they're better suited at another. And so internally, we'll move them around.
So again, they're all worthy projects, but you tried to squeeze them where there was funding available. I
Yes.
understand that. The other one, the two food pantry ones, the Hispanic Center and Meals on Wheels, wouldn't those be eligible for the COVID relief money?
We've done a lot with food insecurities over the year, and we have given them money through
We
that.
have money from the COVID relief, though, for that, and that would be an appropriate use. So using the COVID relief money for that could potentially free up, what do we got? About $50,000 then?
So
No,
the line item within the COVID money is a contracted project with CLV for a specific food bank in Northampton Borough.
okay, but again, there's still money available there, and we're not fixing any lead paint projects with that money yet. So there's potentially $44,000 that if we would fund those food bank projects from COVID relief money, that would be freed up for something else. You know, and I know your position, you're gonna say, well, this is our budget, and we have a right to propose amendments, I get that. The other one, and maybe we will propose something, we'll see. The other one, the New Bethany, the ADA ramp, again, certainly worthy, but typically we do those sorts of things from CDBG funding. Why is that a Grow Norco project?
Because Grow Norco guidelines also allows for those specific projects. And they missed, CDBG, I don't remember.
Did they apply for a CDBG grant?
Do you remember, Frank?
They're in the city of Bethlehem.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's right. Yep, Bethlehem has their own entitlement. The city does.
So then why didn't they apply to the city of Bethlehem for a CDBG grant?
They may have,
They'll have to ask Bethlehem or
but we don't
Bethany. We don't administer
work
that
with
space.
Bethlehem's CDBG. That's entirely different. So the
You know,
city
again, I
also,
understand that, but it seems to, again, certainly, this is a good project. But my question is, why do we choose which pot to pull this money out of? And I would like to know whether or not they did apply for CDBG funding, because this is, to me, a very good CDBG project. I don't, I guess, again, this goes back to Bethlehem. I think that they, that should have been looked at there first.
I will say, from a regulatory standpoint, our Grow Norco program is a lot more lenient than the hoops that they would have to jump through for the CDBG program. So if they can get the funding from the county, it opens up other ways and other more items specific to CDBG program things.
So we're easier, I get that. And then the
well, the
last thing
CDBG is more cumbersome.
yeah, well, it's a federal program.
Yes.
There's more hoops you have to jump through. I understand that. It might be worth asking Alicia if they applied there too. And then the last thing I want to do is I just want to commend, you awarded the Center for Animal Health and Welfare for the veterinary, the spay and neutering that they do. That's excellent, and thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yes, Mr. Heckman?
What Mr. Cusick just said, when we reach out, I'm very concerned with the animal welfare. We have I don't know, people aren't necessarily being responsible at times with their pets or with spaying. And we have a lot of dogs and cats that, as people, we're responsible. They wouldn't be here if it weren't for us. And I think we have a responsibility to care for them and no-kill shelters. Do we do any outreach with them? Because I certainly, when I look at the myriad of projects we fund, and I know you get a long list and you could make a case for any one of these, but certainly a case could be made for them. Do we do any outreach? I don't even know what's in the valley anymore, what we have available. I know we have the one out in, is it Williams Township yet?
Yeah.
That's the one
Yes.
you're talking about?
Yeah, but are there any others, Steve? You jumped up.
There are nonprofit, the Center for Animal Health and Welfare is also a nonprofit, but they have had more traditional partnerships with the county. I know there was a period of time they took some of our lost dogs, so to speak, as like a place if law enforcement picks somebody up. We don't have an official one. I know that if there are issues, nonprofits and animal shelters have reached out to the county executive in the past. I know that, we make sure we tell them what awards are available, but for some of these smaller nonprofits that do this without a building, or even with a building, like Pibbles and Paws up on 248 up near Mr. Giovanni, which is a nonprofit I've gotten dogs through.
I got mine there.
They tend to not have the funds to actually meet some of these matching grant programs. Leadership changes in some of these groups. And I think in some cases, they prefer to be their close little group. So to answer your question, I think it's difficult to break through with some of these people. But if there is a need, the Center for Animal Health and Welfare, there are people who are on the board that work for me directly, that they're not shy to come out and ask, hey, what kind of county programs are out there? And I send them to Tina. So we do, when there are things that are out there, we do work with them and get them to the proper channels to help out animals, because we don't want to see any of our furry friends.
Yeah, I mean, less restrictive, we can maybe lead them to less restrictive flows of money that they can get, where it's just a grant without necessarily a match, or even if they have to supply receipts to you or something. It's almost becoming, and maybe it's just we're more aware now, but it's almost what word am I trying to use, Steve? Epidemic.
Epidemic.
Yeah,
So the
dogs and cats, people are, I don't know if they're leaving doors open, I don't know what's going on.
The other thing I think Tina and her team do, and I know I helped direct her with some of this too, is when we are looking at money, specifically federal money, which requires single audit,
Yeah.
meet single audit requirements. Many times taking that $100,000 from the federal government, now that triggers a single audit for them, it's the only thing that would cause them to have that single audit, and therefore it's actually sometimes more expensive for them to even accept that money. So we are sensitive to some of those smaller nonprofits.
I
who might
get
not
it,
wanna
they're not
grow in
set
that
up,
way.
and it's sort of informal, and it's nice that they're doing it. It's just, I just hope that we're covering the need, and I can't say we aren't, and I can't say we are, I can just say we can do the best we can, and that's it. I was just curious about that. Thanks.
What was Upper Mount Bethel doing with their 10 grand? Is that for the firehouse? What's that for? I think the actual was 11.12.
Oh, the new grant is for their garages.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, folks?
Just one, what's the collegiate empowerment?
We talked about that's as students. That's the college students.
Financial literacy,
And we're,
college
So that's
students.
back in the, yeah.
Teach what?
High school.
Financial literacy, so it's a program to have college students give back to the community by going to middle schools, elementary schools, through high
Tutoring
school.
and everything else like that.
Or maybe they can come here and tutor us on finances. All right, thanks.
They've had programs like that forever. Okay, we're moving on to gaming host county slots, 90 and 81. Yes.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
I turned away. Any questions? None? Okay. EPA brownfields, 91 and 82. We were some discussion about brownfields
Oh,
before.
can I ask one question to Steve before we move on? I'm sorry, I didn't see my own note. I wrote myself. Steve, on page 90 in the white book, you mentioned that, you write that 1.8 million will be transferred to the general fund for tax relief. So that's just going into the general fund.
Yeah, so that $1.8 million, it's a projection of revenue that we do every year. We're granted that money as tax relief. It's part of the agreement that the legislature made with the counties that hosted casinos when they opened up slots. So that's part of the hosting fee.
If that money, if something in that money was used for a county project here, it would negate the need to necessarily take it from general fund unencumbered there, which would actually could be argued as tax relief. So it really becomes money that can be used.
Council approves the budget amendment, and when we accept this money, that money is put into, as part of the projections of revenue, it goes into a revenue line item and falls into the fund balance. The fund balance is a projection of that revenue. We're just letting you know that 1.8 million falls into that portion.
That's fine. I just wanted to clarify. Thanks.
So you're looking for money.
Well, I mean, you know,
Just wanted to make sure we're good.
there's so many questions you have to ask because there's fine lines sometimes.
I think I can answer your question, because I was here when the gaming law was adopted under Governor Rendell. Initially, the money was broken up into several different pots, and one of the things you could do with the money was property tax relief. And at that time, council did adopt that policy that a portion of it would be used for property tax relief. And this is the portion that it was decided that would be used for that purpose. And it's just continued that way. Whether or not council wants to spend it in a different way, that's something that could be entertained, but I think it's worked. And I think one of the things if you remember Governor Rendell, when he sold the casino, one of the things was property tax relief. And at that time, council said, okay, we're gonna agree with Governor Rendell and we're gonna put this money for property tax relief. We've done that, and it's been that way since.
But I mean, I remember when you guys did it and you had a little board, and the board would sort of divvy out the money and say who can have it and who can't. And that went away. And because I was on the redevelopment authority, and that's where the Sands, when we were down there, and we, you know, this was all happening. And I guess what I asked, and Steve said it, the 1.8 million is the counties, and we can use it for tax relief, but the term tax relief can be narrow or it can be expanded. So as Steve said, it rolls forward and it's in the general fund. And to me, if something isn't encumbered in the general fund, if you can show me that, you have to prove to me that I absolutely cannot touch that, it's touchable money.
Well, we've been collecting slot revenue for well over a decade, and the county executive cut taxes, and that one
Yes, he
mil
did.
tax cut was about $8 million, so
Yes, he
I
did.
think it balances out.
Oh, Nice little speech there. Your boss will love it. But the thing is, no, I hear what you're saying, but again, to simplify it as much as possible, 1.8 million is going into the general fund.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all. I'm sorry I held you up, Mr. President.
Any other questions? Okay, now we're moving on to APA brownfields, 91 and 82.
Could you just tell us what's being worked on right now with this money?
Sure we can.
Sure thing. So EPA Brownfields program is a very specific and unique program that has very specific EPA regulations. So the money that's been spent so far this year is in accordance with our consultant, AMO Consulting, to kind of set the path for it. So they have certain quality assurance management plans, quality assurance, there's very highly technical plans that they've been working on to set us on the right path. They've also went to our most recent county COG meeting as kind of a canvassing event. All the municipalities were invited to, nonprofits, trying to get the best project that we can to administer these funds. So at the current time, there are no projects that are specifically identified as ready to go, but we were continuing to receive projects as they come in.
So, all right, now you just set me off. What my concern here is that when you hire a consultant, the objective is that they locate projects for which we can utilize additional funds or some of this funds. Now, what you're saying is that the consultant is just doing all this work and we have no projects to work on? Is that correct?
It has a lot more to do with just the projects themselves. There are projects that have come to us that look like on face value that they would be valuable and ready to use this funding, but they may have started their program already. So they may have started to do environmental cleanup. If they're to go into this program, they'd have to stop that and get EPA approval, which can take up to 6 to 9 months of extended programming. So you have to be on early enough on a project identified to kind of make this before they start doing remediation. So a lot of these projects that you're hearing about have project remediation, environmental remediation has already begun. They don't want to stop that in the middle of the cycle.
Okay, so in the meantime, we're paying a consultant and they're not generating any projects for us to work on. I'm just, again,
I'm not saying there aren't projects that have been identified. It's just projects that are not ready to go at this moment. So it's whether they've been brought to us and they're not at a certain point, like say they have to make a certain transactional before they can go forward and use it's just that's kind of the step.
So how much have we paid the consultant to generate no projects?
33,000.
Oh, good work. Thanks.
But
Now-
hold on.
Hold
It's not just, that's not, so the consultant has also identified projects and we're monitoring those projects. So when they are ready or hit those thresholds, that they're actually able to get the funding, apply for it, and usher them through the process. So I'll give you an example, the Dixie factory. We looked very, very heavily into them. We wanted to give them money. The consultant thought it would be a great project, but when the consultant, we used our consultant, he sat down, we talked with the developer of the site, we had a meeting with DCED, we talked about their stack of funding for the project, and it wasn't a fit. The consultant did that work. His expertise came in handy, and it's way better to have him there, and we apply for the money and expect it to come through, and then, oops, we hit a wrinkle. So that's an unfair categorization for that $33,000, because they have done a lot of work for us. And while it might not bring us projects, we want to make sure we spend this brownfield money correctly, because otherwise we're on the hook. So
for instance, Eastern Iron Metal, your consultant is looking at that.
no, that one's actually underway already.
That was previous.
That was previous.
Okay, so they're already,
So the consultant is only tied to our supplemental funding of the $3 million.
it's already done
Our
then.
new funding.
So the previous funding is what Eastern Iron Metal is.
Yeah. What happened to the chicken down there? Did they get moved to the entrance? And Eastern Iron Metal had a huge metal chicken.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yes,
I think it made it to Southside, actually.
Metal chicken.
What about Upper Mount Bethel, RPL? Where the Med Ed station is?
We're open to projects, which is why we had the consultant come to our COG meeting and give a do's and don'ts, loans and grant presentation. So if they're interested, please have them reach out, and we will absolutely look at any potential project. Yeah, have them reach out to us.
Gotta come down.
Yeah, I mean, we have the money, we want eligible projects, but like Steve said, case in point with the Dixie, cleanup work already started, so we weren't able to help.
Inspector call you in the morning.
Yeah, you're right, that's actually a brownfield.
It is
as
actually
opposed
a
to
brownfield.
Where the med building
Nice
is.
farmland that's been chewed up for
Yeah.
stuff
Yes.
for years.
Yes.
Yeah, it is a brownfield.
If you want to see consultants, John, go into ask the Human Services when they come in. That is a consultant-heavy area. And hey, consultants need to get around in nice wheels too, so come on,
Any other questions?
be fair.
No other questions? Revolving loan, EPA, 9283. We got 2 to go.
So just for clarity's sake, this is the previous revolving loan funds that are tied to the Easton Iron and Metal project.
Gotcha. So that just answered what I talked about. Questions?
Which one?
82, on revolving loan, EPA.
I guess can I ask?
You can ask anything your heart
I know
desires.
y'all want to go home to your nice cooked dinners, but, so does this money ever go away, or is there a timeline on the use again?
We do have to file for extensions, which I believe is for middle of next year. So we're through the end of this year, and then we have to file for extension in the middle of next year.
Then so what's the drop dead end date, or is there such a thing?
It's up to the EPA, and I think this is a transformative enough project for as long as the EPA is willing to back it, we're going to commit it through it.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, we're going to revolving loan, MCLSA, 93 and 84. Explain to me MCLSA. For those who may be listening, explain to them what that is.
Monroe County Local Share Account.
Thank you. We did get that. So the folks at home know exactly what it is. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Heckman, you can ask.
Monroe County, I know as part of that whole thing with gaming and all that, and the money we'd get in Monroe County was told they have to, share. I see we projected 8,000 for '23. We budgeted 8,000, so it's all going to be spent to our, I'm just a little confused. In 2024, we're budgeting 8,000. But I'm not sure, Steve. You projected you'll have 8,000 spent in 2023, and that's what you budgeted. In 2024, you have 8,000, but you don't show it as an increase.
It's interest on the loan.
Yeah, it's
This
the
is the part of the
Banger
Banger
loan.
Trust loan, so this is their interest
Oh,
payments.
I'm sorry, I looked
on
at
the loan.
I looked up here and I'm wrong. So the 8,000 though, on the fund balance, that's just a normally increasing amount that there's more people gambling, we're getting more money?
No, it's a Banger Trust Building MCLSA grant to loan
Yeah, so
program.
basically what that is the money has to sit somewhere.
Right.
So that's the interest, that's revenue on that money that is sitting, that, yeah, it's just interest, that the money is sitting there. That's what we project we're going to get each year.
It goes down every year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know when it was done, I forget what year, I mean, I know John mentioned it before, but I was just curious. I didn't go back and look. I like to look into a budget sometimes, but if that's been like a pretty stable amount or if it's been going up or down.
2014.
2014, yeah, it's been a while. All right, that's all. I was just curious.
Anybody else have any questions? If not, we end this budget hearing meeting now. Thank you.
What's
Enjoy your
next
night. Next time?
Yes.